It's time for the Writer's Block, our weekly extended look at sports. I'm Jenny Carlson here in the Oklahoman newsroom, joined by Cedric Golden in the Austin American-Statesman newsroom. Hey, Ced, how's it going?
What's up, Jay Carr?
You know, we've talked a lot of football these last few weeks, and rightfully so. And we'll talk football, but we're going to talk about some other stuff today, too, as the NBA gets ready to go. But also, news out of California, you in Texas, me in Oklahoma. This is obviously happening across the country, but lots of talk about this new law enacted in California. Won't take effect until 2023, so a few years away. But California has said that college athletes, even ones that are playing under the NCAA umbrella, can use their likeness, their name, their star power even, to get endorsement deals and profit from that. This is obviously against NCAA regulations, saying that athletes that play in the NCAA cannot be compensated in that way. Cedric, it really feels like California is calling the NCAA's bluff on this, because the NCAA has said, listen, if you do this, could mean that teams in California are banned from NCAA postseason competition. How's this going to affect things moving forward? A lot of unknowns at this point, but how do you see it working?
Well, California knows how to party. Is still a line from death row. I'm telling you, California's Gavin Newsom, the politician, decided enough is enough. These players have been given away their images. They've been given away their likeness. They haven't been allowed to take advantage of endorsement opportunities created by the work that they have put in. So I think the NCAA has been pushed into a corner, and good for the athletes that someone is looking out for their interests. Jen, we've covered sports for a long time, and we've covered the games between the lines. We've covered the finances off the field. And guess who's gotten rich over these last 30 or 40 years? Coaches, athletic directors, television executives, merchandising companies like EA Sports, and apparel companies like Nike. And meanwhile, the kids, if you're not in that lucky 2% that's going to play in the NFL, you might get a scholarship, or you might just be left holding the bag. The next time 90,000 people show up to the Glee Club assembly, I'll be there just to write about the spectacle of it all.
Right.
But I know that there's going to be 90,000 people the next time I walk in DKR, and I know there's going to be 90,000 the next time you walk into Memorial Stadium in Norman. The kids move this needle, and these kids need to be compensated.
Well, and you know, a lot of talk in the last few years about whether the NCAA, the schools, however it would work out, would potentially pay athletes. And I think that's still a conversation that's out there. The NCAA has said, and its schools have said, listen, we don't have the money to do that, which I don't know if I buy that with all the money that's pouring in with TV deals, and obviously the NCAA basketball tournament, which is huge in the overall compensation. But this is a situation where California is not saying to its member institutions, the NCAA, you have to pay your athletes. It's saying if they can profit out in the big wide world, whether that's, Cedric, you mentioned EA Sports, or if it's a local car dealership that's willing to say, hey, we want to put this athlete or this team even. I know that a lot of focus has been on the sort of high-profile sports, the football, the men's basketball, but in a smaller community, if you have a really good women's basketball team that has captured, local interest, or you have, a great golfer or a great tennis player, it doesn't necessarily, this isn't just a football, basketball question. This is a chance for athletes that maybe have an even smaller profit window. You're talking about, if there's a softball or women's basketball, they have a much smaller window and much less money out there professionally. Maybe this is a chance for them to cut into that endorsement pie too. If a car dealership says, "Hey, we want the Cal water polo team to be a spokes team for us." I don't know, but Cedric, this is not cutting into school revenue, NCAA revenue. This is saying, give these athletes a chance to pursue this, and again, it doesn't take effect until 2023, but is the NCAA really going to ban these teams, all these California teams, from postseason? I can't imagine it, because isn't at some point, aren't these other states going to say, listen, if California is going to do this, are they going to start getting all these great athletes to go play for their teams? Don't our states need to do something similar? I think this is just going to open the door to even more states doing this.
Absolutely. And are you going to throw USC out? Are you going to throw UCLA out? Are you going to throw Stanford out? What are we talking about here, Jen? What's going to happen is these other states are going to get the message that this is a progressive movement and that it is a chance to give some of these athletes an opportunity to share in their hard work. Sam Ehlinger, the Texas quarterback, has been very outspoken about it. He goes, we place a value on what we do. Now, the one part where the schools might have to pony up a little bit of cash, Jen, is in the area of merchandising.
Yeah.
When I was covering the Texas Longhorns in 2005, when they won a national championship, there were these shirts, these burnt orange shirts, worn by many people, and they had I Heart VY on it. Like, I love Vince Young. And we know that Vince Young was the Pied Piper of that team. He was arguably the best quarterback in college football, the best overall player. And Texas sold a ton of T-shirts, of I Love VY T-shirts. And those T-shirts were all over the stadium, and Vince Young didn't get one penny. And that's his likeness.
Yeah. That's
his intellectual property. I know that he's wearing a Texas Longhorn uniform, but those people weren't there to see Mac Brown on the sidelines. Yeah. They weren't there to see Greg Davis. They weren't there to see the officials. They were there to see VY.
Yeah.
And a good point, Jen, is these smaller programs, it's an opportunity for them. The water polo example is a good one. How about Kat Osterman? She's the only reason that any of us were talking about softball in this part of the country, and those jerseys were flying off the shelves. Kat Osterman didn't get one penny of that money. So I think the NCAA his bluff has been called. It's going to be really interesting these next 2 or 3 years to see how many other states jump on. If a Texas, if a Florida, if an Ohio, if a Pennsylvania, those are big football states. An Alabama.
Yeah.
Though if they jump on, then Katie bar the door. This is going to get fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it really is just going to take a couple more states doing something similar. And why wouldn't they? Again, if I'm a coach who's trying to recruit against USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, and those are just the big ones in California. If you're trying to recruit against them, and in 2023, those schools are able to tell athletes, listen, if you are able to use your likeness to profit, you can. It's going to be hard to be pulling against those teams. And again, it's not just football, it's not just basketball. There's a lot of other teams that this relates to. And I saw a little bit as this news has been breaking and people have been reacting, and Cedric brought up the Glee Club idea. And I think that this makes me think too that if a student out on a college campus, a math whiz, let's say, I saw this example. If somebody who's great in math is able to get, some sort of endorsement deal from the leading maker of slide rulers or, whatever technology, I don't think mathematicians use slide rulers much anymore, but if that was something that could be attained, wouldn't we all say, that's great for you, what a great thing you've done? And yet, if something like that were to happen with an athlete, even, Cedric, we've seen examples of athletes create YouTube channels and do different things that seem very entrepreneurial. And the NCAA has disallowed a lot of those things. It just seems to me like hypocritical comes to mind. Maybe that's too light a word or too strong a word, but I think there's got to be some sort of middle ground with these athletes and what they're able to do. Yes, the scholarship's great. Yes, the room and board is great. But Cedric, you've seen, like you said, the clothes, the merchandise that's out there, the amount of work that's put in, the value to the universities. There's got to be something that allows these athletes to get a little bit of that.